Well, hello and welcome to another Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. I do hope that you are doing well. Behind me then is an image. I'm a fairly famous picture, I'm sure, insofar as this is kind of a typical picture of this. What do you think when you see this, and what questions would you ask? I'll just have a think about that for a moment. What questions would you think when you see this, and what questions would you want to ask? Okay, so we're looking at crime and punishment. That's what we're doing this unit, and we're today going to be thinking about prisons. And here is our cheesy intro sequence. So today then we're going to look at how Christians affect the prison system. Okay, how Christians affect the prison system. We're going to examine the role of prison reformers and prison chaplains. So we're going to transform and reduce a lot of information to smaller chunks today during today's session. Do make sure you've got the title written down, and as I usually do, pause me as we go. It's going to be a good outcome if you can say 2 ways that Christians have affected the prison system. Great if you can give detail about 2 ways, including clear examples that prisoners' lives are affected by prison, and even better if you can tie this information back to your work on punishment that we've looked at last time. So we are going to be looking at the literacy value of reading, because you've got to extract some information, and asking questions and working independently, which is obviously going to be easier to do because you're watching this at home. During today's session then, we're going to look at prison chaplains with a media clip, prison reformers with a media clip, and then we're going to look at prison and punishment today. So I wonder if you can think of a time when you've helped somebody. I wonder if you can think of a time when you have personally helped somebody. I also wonder if you can think of a time in the story of the Bible when the enemy was given help as well. Okay, so you might be thinking already about the parable of the Good Samaritan, if that's a story that you know. If you don't know it, then maybe do a little bit of looking on Faith, Philosophy and Life. You'll find a lesson on that. It's the story where people are walking down a road, they cross over the road because somebody's beaten up, and eventually somebody who is the enemy of that person who was beaten up actually stops to help. That's an example in the Bible. Jesus taught about that. So helping people is something that Christians believe they need to do. They believe it's a call from God, from Jesus, to do that. So when we think about people in prison, they also need to be helped. They not just need to be a forgotten part of society. They still have dignity, they still have worth. These are some statements. Society says lock them up and throw away the key. Politicians say we need to build more prisons. Statistics say 80% of inmates return to prison after their release, and so actually we're wasting our time trying to rehabilitate them. But Jesus said in one of his parables, I was in prison, you came to help me. So Christians are definitely called to try and help people out. We're going to watch a clip now about how prison chaplains help people out. These are people that are Christian and people from other faiths as well. You'll find a worksheet in the description below. So I'm going to ask you to watch this and to answer the questions on the sheet as we go. So let's watch this now.
Her Majesty's Prison Manchester, formerly known as Strangeways, is a high-security adult male prison. It's one of the few prisons in the country that houses Category A prisoners. Caring for them pastorally is a team of chaplains. The Reverend Joe Calladine is one of the Anglican chaplains there. Their first task in the mornings is to be briefed on new prisoners that have arrived overnight.
We go on to see them, and quite often we're the first member of staff that they will see first thing in the morning. Partly it is to, it's pastoral, make sure they're okay, have they contacted their family, how they're feeling, particularly if they're new in. I think that's when reality really hits, that first night in jail.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
There are chaplains in a number of prisons across the diocese. The Manchester team is led by the Reverend Henry Martin.
Myself or one of us will go along and see him.
I manage a large team of several Christian denominations and also other faiths as well. We have imams, rabbis, Sikh minister, Hindu minister, all on our team, as well as a Buddhist chaplain. We had about 10 prisoners come in this morning. And prisoners will come in with different needs. Some of them will still be detoxing from various substances that they've had on the outside that we need to assist them with, and we have units to help them with that. But we'll see everybody within 24 hours as chaplains.
If you get your mum's number to me, then I'll be able to give her a ring and see how she is and get back.
I mean, it says in John's Gospel that God's light shines in the darkness and the darkness never defeats it. Wherever there is darkness and difficulty, I think it's all the more important that God's light is there to remind people that the darkness isn't absolute and that there is always light and hope and the promise of new life.
Well,
At least he's in. Wanting to do confession. I talk to the guards and the officers here. I mean, from my point of view, and I think the rest of my chaplaincy colleagues feel very strongly, we're here for everybody in this prison. So our ministry is not just with the prisoners, but it's with the staff too.
The Thomas More Chapel is central to their ministry, and a good number of inmates attend the services.
Chapel does give people time to reflect, and also we do give them the good news of forgiveness. Hopefully not in a pat, easy way, but in a way that helps people to face up to their God and his love, but also to their own circumstances and their own choices.
There aren't any bars in the chapel building. When we take prisoners there, say to light a candle in the event of a loved one's death, I always point out that we could be in any chapel, in any church in the country. We offer them communion as part of our Anglican service, and as far as we're concerned, God doesn't put up any barriers between us and him, so we don't put up any barriers either. Right, did he make a phone call when he came in?
I'm not too sure, I've been busy.
The prison staff will contact us if they think somebody is in crisis and we can help. There are times when a prisoner has a really difficult set of decisions to make. If he discovers that a relative is ill, we might end up doing a lot of running around for him to make sure that he gets some emergency phone credit.
Okay, so choose at least two of the following reasons why there's prison chaplains and explain why these are important to offer in a prison, important things to offer in a prison. So choose two of these, write them out, and just explain why they're important. So pause me now while you do that. Okay, so what we've done is we've looked at prison chaplains, and we're now going to look at prison reformers. Now, a prison reformer is somebody who has tried to change the prison system. So this is what prisons were like in the 19th century and prior to that as well. Obviously I haven't got photographs of this because cameras didn't really exist. But you can see here a picture of Pentonville prison, a painting where convicts are wearing masks, they can't see each other, and they're literally following a rope around as part of their exercise each day, and they're not allowed to speak or be with anyone in terms of any communication. And there's prison guards standing there, obviously looking very somber. You might just be able to make this out, but here is a prisoner that's actually literally chained to the floor, and he has a chain around his neck. He's got a jug of water there, and a straw bed that's on stone. Here you've got a prisoner trying to defend himself. We don't quite know what's going on in this picture. There's lots of things going on here. But maybe he's trying to make a case why he should be innocent. But you can see it's overcrowded is the point. And there's very little daylight. In fact, there's just a little light coming from that. And lastly, you can see some chains there of what prisoners would have been in. Elizabeth Fry was a prison reformer. She saw what was going on and said, no, enough. That is not respectful for people. So, what I'd like you to do is in the description below, you'll find some information about Elizabeth Fry. I want you to have a quick read over that, and maybe just try and work out these sort of 4 points here and put them into full paragraphs. So who was Elizabeth Fry? What does she do? Why does she do it? Think about her Christian faith. Look at tall item quotes and stuff that we've talked about. And when did she live? Okay, so in the description below, get the information about Elizabeth Fry, have a read over it, get 4 paragraphs written about that information. And when you've done that, come back to me. So we said it'd be a good outcome if you could say 2 ways that Christians have affected the prison system. You can talk about prison chaplains, you can talk about Elizabeth Fry. We have done that. Great if you can give detail about those 2 ways, including clear examples, and talk about how prisoners' lives are affected by prison. If you followed this lesson through so far, you should be able to do that. Now we need to be able to start to tie this together. So we've looked at prison chaplains, prison reformers, and we're going to look at prison and punishment today. So I'm going to play a clip to you as well that I found. After you watch this, again in the section below, there's a task 3. I'd like you to have a read over that, read page 364, 365, explain what the word parole means, answer question 1, 2 and 3, and then there's a homework or an extra task there depending what time you've got for that. So we're going to watch this, then I'll bring this slide back up, and then you'll need to pause me.
As soon as COVID hit, everything stopped. All of the lads were locked in their cells for a maximum of 23.5 hours a day. The young men were behind their doors for a serious amount of time. COVID had a massive impact. Probably 75% of the prisoners were out daily, going to education, doing their general work on the wings. COVID wasn't here, HMP ISIS, it was brought in from another jail, and we were able to contain that very, very quickly. So this is Thames House Block. This is one of our house blocks at the moment. We have offices and classrooms up on each landing. This is our main hub office, and that is where the whole of the house block is managed via that house, the hub. This is cleaned religiously throughout the day. So we've got 4 spurs. That G wing, or G spur, is our induction wing. F wing is our enhanced wing. And so that's all our higher level prisoners, and generally the less challenging boys. Originally, right at the very start, it was visits. Visits were our priority. The men had been in lockdown for quite a considerable amount of weeks, knowing that they couldn't have any contact with their family, and we delivered that, and that's been up and running since the 3rd of August. It's been very successful, although minimal amounts of visitors, because it is through the week and we're unable to deliver that at weekends. Pre-COVID, we had a maximum of up to 40 prisoners were allowed on each visit, and they were allowed up to 3 visitors with children, 2 children as well. COVID struck, visits stopped, and then when we reintroduced visits, we had to measure the whole area out for our social distancing, which enabled us to reduce the capacity to 18 prisoners that are allowed to have a maximum of 3 visitors per prisoner. So it's very difficult for young children to understand that it's a completely contact-free visit. They're unable to have any sort of contact whatsoever with their visitors. So that can be extremely hard for the families visiting. We've just managed to open the indoor gym where they're able to use weights and indoor racket sports and stuff. It's massive, it has a great impact on their mental health. And literally just about their attitude. They have an hour and 40 minutes to do social and domestics. So they come out for showers, use the biometrics, speak to their other friends on the wing, and then they have an hour out in the open air, which is exercise, and then they get the opportunity to also come to the gym 1 session per week. We have had to take some stuff out of the gym, some equipment, so to make it social distancing. And the reason that we are able to have this amount in the gym at one time is they are one cohort, so they are one little bubble, for so to speak. We maintain and insist on the 2 metre distancing everywhere around the jail. We've got hand sanitizers, we've got wash basins. All of the prisoners are given soap in their cells, and they have access to the hand sanitisers when they go on and off the house blocks and in any other area that they move to. We've put a lot of processes in place to ensure that we remain infection free, and so far, you know, we've maintained that, and we've been very lucky.
Okay, with that done, let's get on with these tasks now. Okay, so with all that done, I think we're done for the day. So thanks for your time. Take care of yourself, stay safe, wash hands, God bless you, and I'll be seeing you soon.